So welcome to the awesome Daytona beach and this wonderful and historic stretch of sand, which has played host over the years to some seriously high-speed action. Well, this weekend the action's going to be equally as fast, but it won't be taking place here, it's happening over there. Well, great action there from last year, but it's almost time for the first AquaX Pro Tour event for 2016. And what a place to start. The AquaX Series is starting its 4th season, and each year it's got bigger and better. In fact, last year at some events, so many racers turned up that the organisers had to split the classes, which has led to some big changes for this year. Hi, Michelle. You all right?
Since we launched AquaX in 2013 here in the US, we've seen exponential growth in the series, both from a participation perspective, starting here in Daytona in 2013 with just 7 riders. We've seen that grow to now over 100 riders, and not just the numbers have grown, but also that quality has grown. We're still maintaining our amateur series throughout Florida and the Great Lakes, but sitting on top of that, we've now got a Pro Tour. So those guys racing at an amateur level, racing their stock skis, can now aspire to race against the best in the world in the Pro Tour. So we've seen a huge increase in the participation, a huge increase in the standard of racing, and we have the world's best racers, 12 countries represented and 10 different states from the US. So it's going to be a really exciting weekend.
So great news that the top riders are now all fighting out in their own pro enduro class, and it's certainly going to make for some brutal action. But what is it that's made AquaX so popular? Well, it's simple, or is it? Here's Deanna to explain.
Thanks, Kev. Now the whole concept of AquaX is built on the best riders on the best equipment. Now that means stock equipment, well, nearly. You can reflash the ECU, change the prop, or adjust the ride plates. So it isn't about the bank account, it's about the dedication and talent. So whether it's the new Sea-Doo, the Kawasaki, or the Yamaha that rocks your boat, the performance is about the same. Well, 80 miles an hour the same. The AquaX Tech team works very hard to keep it simple.
Here today we're only testing the elite type crafts and the 300 horsepower crafts. Different craft tend to do different things on the start. Like the Cowie tends to have an edge on the start. But then if we race on the flat water races, the Sea-Doo and the Yamaha does very well. So it's an interesting series because they're different. It's a bit like Formula 1 or IndyCar in the sense there's different constructors with different hulls but similar power. So we're just trying to iron out the differences between all those so that we have the information when the racers start asking questions about who's doing what and why.
So that's the stock concept, but what about the riders? Well, last year we had 3 great champions across each of the classes, who this year are all racing head-to-head. And in the 200 class, it was Travis Sialasco, who was Mr. Perfect. Well, nearly, with 14 wins out of 15 starts. But can he do it again this year, stepping up, racing alongside the big boys?
Travis, you had a great last season in the 200 class, but you're stepping it up with the big boys this season. How are you feeling about that?
I'm feeling great. It's going to be good conditions out there for me. There's some good surf. I've been training hard. It's a big step. A lot of new people came out, a lot of the old pros, so it's going to be crazy.
What do you think the main factor will be to seal a win for you today?
Get that whole shot. Get out there, get out in front, and just give it all. You know, do it all and try to stay in front.
Sounds great. Are we going to see you at the top of the podium?
Yes, you will.
So good luck to Travis, but I'm here now with last year's 250 class champion, the main man, Eric Lagopoulos. Eric, great to see you again, friend.
Good to see you, my friend.
Listen, you had a great season last year, but it all fell into place on that last weekend, and it was Paloma who kind of like had the upset that that opened the door for you?
It was great. You know, it was a battle from the first round to the last. You know, the points race came down just a couple points, and the best guy came out on top. You know, I mean, we won our back-to-back championship, and we were really excited about it.
Well, the good news is you're back on CD, but of course this year it's all changed. Now with the Pro Enduro class, you've stepped up to the unrestricted 300 machine.
Yeah, you know, we got to race in the big class and to race against the best competition in the world, you know.
And the exciting thing as well this weekend here in Daytona, you're racing a little closer to the pier, so that's good for the spectators, but the course you're racing on, it's a bit tighter. There's a couple more turns in there as well.
Yeah, you know, it's going to be good. It's definitely going to help the Sea-Doo. We have hulls that turn really well, so we were hoping there'd be some more turns, and we got it. We have some nice surf out here today. It's going to be good action for the fans, and we're just excited to get out there.
You're going to be running from the front, but it's not going to be easy, right?
No, this is probably the best lineup of riders from around the world that I've ever seen in one race. So, you know, truthfully, a top 10 is going to be an amazing finish with this level of competition. But we're going to go out there for the win.
Well, great stuff from the shy and retiring Eric Lagopoulos there.
Last year's 300 class was a real battle, but in the end, it was veteran Canadian Mike Clipper Klippenstein who showed the youngsters how it should be done.
Well, youngsters, there's a lot of youngsters on the line for sure. Definitely got some few years on them. So I think with the field, the way it's so stacked, you got to ride smart. You got to save the boat. The new rule changes, the boats are 10, 15 mile an hour faster, so things are going to happen quicker. Reliability of the boats could go down if you're not saving and nursing your motor. So it's going to be a long season. This is only round one.
Well, Eric Francis may have finished second in the championship, but at least he had the consolation of still topping out the Aquacross World Rankings, which is based on his accumulative points from the past 2 seasons. So Eric, great to see you. Welcome back. 2016, it's kicking off. A few changes as well. The field's got a bit bigger and it's now all about the Pro Enduro class.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big change. I mean, you got 25 of the best riders around the world showing up to this event. We're racing by ourselves, and now we're on faster equipment with the few rule changes. So, yeah. I mean, it's going to be a lot more exciting.
The one thing that I know you like, and we were just talking about it, was the surf. There's not actually a whole lot of surf here today, and you like it bigger, you like it rougher.
Yeah, I mean, the surf could be low, and I wouldn't mind, but there's no chop, so it's real smooth. There's going to be a lot of high speed, which is usually not to our greatest advantage on the Kawasaki, but we're going to do what we can and do the best.
All right, well, best of luck, man, and good luck. We'll see you at the front.
Appreciate it.
Well, as well as our regular champions, we've been joined by some legends from all other areas of the sport. Real jet ski racing royalty. 34 world and national titles says it all, but this is Mac Attack's first taste of Aquacross. King D has been enticed back to racing after a 2-year break to add Aquacross to his awesome racing resume. Cyril Lemoyne has just moved from his native France to be based now in the US, and he's looking to add Aquacross to his multiple world titles. So for the Pro Enduro, it's 3 races over the weekend, 2 today and 1 tomorrow. Join us after the break when we'll go racing. The Pro Enduro riders are heading out to the start of race 1. It's a 30-minute race plus a lap, and here's the course that they'll be taking on. The riders will start out up by the pier, and it's a mile then into the first turn. 1, 2, 3 turns later, and they're heading back towards the pier. Then it's a right, a left, and then a hard right at the end of the pier. 2 more lefts, and then the riders will head into the infield section, which will be tight, turny, and technical. And don't forget, the surf is really going to play its part this weekend. So it's over to your race commentator, Mine Sanborn.
Thank you, Kevin. And the skis are all lined up as we get ready for Moto number 1 in the Pro Enduro class. And we have a green flag. They are underway. Off to an early jump is Chris McCluckage. But he's got Craig Warner right on his hip. As Warner tries to come up hard, he's just to his right. As we go on board Travis Alasko, we can see that battle just off to his right. He's now on the inside. He's got a good position going towards turn 1. But McCluckage will control the lane. Craig Warner now comes across the wake, moving towards the pin. And he's coming in towards Travis Alasko. We go on board Travis there. You can see Warner coming across. He's going right towards the pin, and Zalasko gets hosed down as he goes into the turn. He now gets stuck in traffic. He's now dropped back to 5th and 6th position as he gets hosed down again. Has to go right through the wake. As we go to our start-finish line, here's McCluckage, but Warner has gotten by him on the inside. Warner is going to cross the start-finish line first as McCluckage barrels down right along the shore, shallow water. And here you see he comes up alongside Craig Warner, who is now out front. A battle for the lead right on the first lap. As Craig Warner now out front as he airs the ski out over a bump. This surface definitely going to play a factor in today's racing. We are right in the surf line just south of the pier. As the skis all make their way towards turn 1, we go on board Eric Lagopoulos. Eric, one of the favored skis, riding for Von Vape this weekend. Back in the pack as we go back to our leader. Craig Warner is out front, but that is Aero Aswar. He has gotten past McCluckage. He's now trying to run down Warner. You can see the gap there is only about a second as Aswar tries to run down Warner as they make their way to the north end of the race course. Warner's got the inside lane. Aswar staying just outside of his hit. McCluckage there in third position as we look at Anya Colley making her way around. One of the women out there on the course as we look at our leader now crossing the start-finish line. This is Craig Warner in the number 101. Warner just passing the start-finish line going into turn 1 where they turn right into a head C over a diagonal as we go back on board the number 999 of Travis Alasko. He's back in the pack right now in 7th position as he crosses the start-finish line. As Aswar is trying to run down Warner, Aswar takes the inside lane. Warner's controlling the line very well. Aswar goes to the outside, trying to find some clean water. As Warner out-accelerates him on the back straightaway. Both of these riders have excellent control of their skis. In that bumpy water, as we go back on board Eric Lagopoulos, you can see him on and off the throttle and see just how bumpy it is. As our leaders make their way to the north end of the race course, Warner rounds the turn. Aswar right on his tail. Aswar ends up going deep, goes way around the outside. Aswar running in second, Warner in first as Warner comes across the start-finish line. Just sticks it right on top of that bump. Here we see him go over the wave. Just rolls it over perfectly. As he continues to lead with Aero Aswar on his hip. Aero's now to the inside of his wake as he goes across the outside. Warner's working his way through lap traffic as there's Aswar coming right through the turn on his tail. He goes to the surf side of that swell as he crosses the start-finish line, goes back across the bump, making his way towards turn 1, where he's going to turn right over the top of a wave. As they head to the south end of the race course, out in front of the pier. As we are winding down in this 30-minute moto. As there is Warner, again, working his way through lap traffic. As he's now getting ready to run down Anya Colley. Warner out front. Coming up to the north end of the race course. As we go back on board Travis Alaska, you can see just how bumpy it is. He's having to manhandle that ski. As he's on the back straightaway heading towards the north. Warner and Aswar go very deep from the turn. They are on the inside of the break in very shallow waters. They cross the start-finish line out front. As we go back on board with Eric Lagopoulos. Not running where he's used to being. Eric Lagopoulos on board the number 361 Von Vape Sea-Doo. As we go back to our leader. And coming up on the outside, there is Aero Aswar. As Aswar looks like he gets by him right at the start-finish line. Let's see if Aswar can hold on. He went way deep going into turn 1 as he looks over his left shoulder. And he's now to the inside of Warner. Warner drives around the outside. Aswar is now on the outside. Warner maintained his lead, but Aswar challenged him hard. Aswar just got stuck on the outside trying to manage the waves along the beach, and that cost him a position. He almost had him as we go back on board looking aft on Travis Alasko. And here comes our leader. Warner working his way around. Aswar is now to the inside. Warner zipping towards the start-finish line. But Aswar got ahead of him on the inside. Aswar is now your leader as he crosses the start-finish line, driving by Brian Baldwin. Aswar has the inside line, but diving back behind him is Warner. Warner's now trying to make a move on the inside as we watch Aswar manage the waves. Perfect control as he goes over the bumps. As Aswar and Werner were working their way through traffic, coming up from behind, Chris McCluckage moved himself into the lead. He is now the race leader. McCluckage out front, as he managed to get himself past Werner and Aswar as they come across the start-finish line now. Oh, and right at the start-finish line, Cyril Lamone coming across, gets his ski sideways, and he goes swimming. Lamone is in the water, signaling everybody to let him know he's there as the yellow flag comes out. We are just 3 minutes away from the end as you see Lamone coming off his ski. Now he's got to worry about the ski chasing him down and hitting him. As we go on board Travis Velasco, he now acknowledges as he sees Lamone in the water coming by the start-finish line. And we red flag the race. It is red flag. So close to the end of the heat, they go ahead and call it, and the win goes to number 46, McCluckage.
So let's get confirmation on the results after race 1. In first place, Chris McCluckage. Just behind him in second, it's Dustin Farthing. And then in third, the young gun, number 119, Ero Aswar. So a great result for Chris McCluckage there in the Pro Enduro Race 1. But now it's time to focus on the Pro Sprint class. Now this is for stand-up skiers and it's set on a much shorter, more technical course. One of the favourites this weekend is South African Dustin Motzouris, and Deanna caught up with him earlier.
So heavy chop won't be a problem for you?
No, I'm hoping it's bigger the better. So
right.
the rougher it gets, the better it's going to be for me.
Pull out a win today?
Yeah, we always come to win. So, that's 100% the goal. And if we don't, we'll make some changes. And, the next motos will come back even harder.
So a little bit of a weather change. You've also got some crazy chops, some fierce competition. Are you ready to brave the competition today?
Yeah, I mean, some of the best riders in the world are here. Chris McCluckage, Dustin Motzouris, Jimmy Wilson. I mean, these are the top guys that travel all over the world and compete and finish on the podium. So I don't put myself in the same class as them, but it's always great to ride with them.
Let's go join your race commentator, Martin Sanborn.
Thank you, Kevin. The holders are in position. This sprint class starts from a dead stop with the engines running, and the green flag drops, and we are underway. On the inside, first boat around the turn is going to be the number 300 boat of James Wilson, as you see them jumping over the waves right at the start. As Wilson gets that early jump, he had the inside lane. Wilson out front as he makes his way through the switchbacks. This very technical race course. Managed the first set of waves perfectly. And the first heat, the water's a little bit calm here, but it's going to get bumpier as the day goes on. And Wilson is out front as he comes across the surf line at the start-finish line, making his way towards turn 1. Nice clean turn. These stand-up skis require a completely different skill set, especially in rough water conditions, as they're continuously battling their weight position on the boat. And that ski coming out from under him continuously. As we see Wilson coming across the water, he's got to navigate and determine when he wants to cross the wake and time his turn to get around those marks in conjunction with the waves. Wilson out front right now, making his way across the start-finish line. Actually going across the waves, but he's got a big bump to go across there. Navigates it beautifully. Slices right through. Actually hopped himself through that. Pearls right through that wave. As we take a look at some slow motion action of number 182, Brock Harris in the surf line. But our leader continues to be number 300, Craig Wilson, out front in his first moto of the Pro Sprint category. Modified stand-up skis. Wilson way out front right now. Wilson's parents were jet ski racers back in the 80s, so this is in his blood. Here's number 101, Dustin Motzouris, currently running in second place. Hails from South Africa. Currently running in second, making his way across the surf line. Our leader, number 300, James Wilson, as we wind down in this first heat of the pro sprints. Wilson getting some big air across the surf line. And he has to go wide around a downed rider. The yellow flags are out. Wilson out front right now, continuing to open his margin. And here's our battle for second and third place. Dustin Matsurius and Dave Davidson making their way around the south end of the race course. As you see Brock making his way around the final switchback. And the checkered flag is out. And it is going to be the number 300 ski of James Wilson coming across the start-finish line. He will take the win in the first moto here in Pro GP.
There's the win.
So after the first one of the weekend, it's Jimmy Wilson who's standing on the top step of the podium. Just behind him, Dustin Matsurius in second, and in third place, Dave Davidson.
Some pretty tough conditions, but you pulled it out with the win. Can you tell us how it was racing out there today?
Yeah, it was really good. It's the first race of the year, so obviously I'm pretty tired. It's really, really rough. The course isn't very big, but the waves certainly make it worse. So it's definitely fun. Glad to get my Judge Motorsports GP ski up on the podium. It's pretty cool.
That's right, well, you did a phenomenal job out there in the chop, and we look forward to seeing more of you.
Thank you, guys.
Confirmation of the result from the pro sprint race. In first place, we've got Jimmy Wilson. In second place, we've got Dustin Matsura. And third place, we've got David Davidson.
So an ecstatic Jimmy Wilson there talking to Deanna fresh out the surf, and boy did the conditions play their part today. And after that red flag incident in the Pro Enduro race, a decision was made to wrap up their weekend's racing tomorrow. So they'll now have 2 races on the Sunday alongside more action in the Pro Sprint class. Join us when we come back then for day 2 from here in Daytona. Welcome back to Daytona for day 2 on this season-opening AquaX Pro Tour weekend. And after yesterday's incident excitement out in some very difficult conditions, the Pro Enduro boys find themselves with 2 races to get done today, alongside the Pro Sprint class, which also have 2 to get done. And while right now, as you look out onto the surf, it may seem relatively calm and sunny and it's a beautiful day, the word is that surf's going to pick up once again, which really will make for some testing conditions for all the riders that are going to be running side by side at the speeds of up to 80 miles an hour. There's a lot going on down here on the sand, and Deanna's joining me once again, so let's go and see what the word on the street is.
Travis, yesterday we talked to you about moving up with the big boys. How did it go with the racing?
They are big boys. They're out there. It's very, very tough competition. The conditions were crazy. I know there was a few injuries. Everybody's doing good though, so it was nuts out there. It was straight carnage.
Now, what are you looking forward to in the racing today?
I believe they changed the course a little bit. It was smaller yesterday. They've made it a lot bigger today, so I'm looking forward to hopefully getting a better start and being up there in the top 10.
So this is it, and for the second time this weekend, the Pro Enduro boys are getting set to go racing. The surf hasn't picked up as much as we thought. It's a little bit flatter, but boy, are we going to see some high-speed action in these conditions. Let's go join your race commentator, Martin Sanborn.
Thank you, Kevin. As we get ready for moto number 2, McCluckage gets on his ski and heads out to the start milling area. The skis are lined up waiting for the green flag, and there we go. We are underway as the skis blast towards turn 1, but off to an early jump is Brian Baldwin. As we go on board Travis Velasquez, he's getting squeezed in the middle. He's right in the wash of the ski ahead of him and just getting sprayed by everybody around. But out front right now is the number 502 of Brian Baldwin. He's got a good jump towards turn 1. We go back on board Travis Velasquez and see what those conditions are like as he heads towards turn 1. And there comes Aswar right across the front of him. Squares off the turn and slams the door on him. But coming across the start-finish line in first place, it is the number 502 of Brian Baldwin, followed by Craig Warner. Brian Baldwin out front. Calmer conditions this moto. Warner trying to run him down. He's now on the inside of that slight right-hand dogleg as they head towards the south end of the race course. Baldwin out front of Warner right now. He's trying to open up a margin on the back straightaway. But Warner's trying to close that gap as they head their way towards the south end turns. See how close our leaders are all bunched up right there. All within about 100 yards of each other as they make their way around the north end of the race course. Coming in towards shore, back on board with Travis Salasco. You can see how much more difficult it is when you've got to navigate through traffic as opposed to being out front where you have clean water as he cuts back across the inside of the wake. That is McCluckich and Aswar battling for third position. McCluckich slams the door on Aswar. He was trying to get up alongside. McCluckich now has the inside lane on the slight dogleg as Aswar goes deep. And our leader continues to be Brian Baldwin as he makes his way to the back straightaway. Second place is Warner, but that battle for third is still heating up. The number 43 of McCluckich on the inside as Aswar goes deep. He's now on the far outside of the course as they head to the north. Aswar moving over to pick up that right-hand dogleg. As Warner has now moved himself into the lead, he got past Baldwin as he's now in lap traffic, creating some havoc for the leaders, and Warner took advantage of it as he drives by Radetic, squares off that turn, and there you see Baldwin now in second position, trying to make up that ground he lost, and Warner is now out front as we go to Mike Klippenstein. He was sitting in fifth place watching the battle between Aswar and McCluckich, but Aswar has dropped off and he's now gotten ahead of McCluckich and moved himself into third place. Klippenstein is now in third as he slams the door on McCluckich as they head towards the south end of the race course. And here is your leader, the number 101 of Craig Warner on his Kawasaki on the back straightaway out front, working his way through lap traffic. As we go back on board Mike Klippenstein, he's now dropped back to fourth position. As positions are changing as we move through this moto back to our leader, Craig Warner. As you see Warner air it out over the turn one bump. He's out front, but he's got Baldwin trying to make up that ground. Baldwin closing the gap right now. Baldwin still running in second place as they move to the south end of the course. As Baldwin running in second, he's now got to worry about McCluckich. McCluckich is coming up hard from behind. McCluckich is wide on the outside of the turn, tries to dive in, doesn't have clean water, has to go a little bit deeper than I think he intended to go. But he's making up ground as McCluckich is trying to run down Baldwin and move himself into second position. They're coming up to that right-hand dogleg. McCluckich will have the inside lane. Let's see if Baldwin gives him a line as they come up to this right-hander. McCluckich has to drift over. Baldwin slams the door on him, and McCluckich grabs the buoy. He dislodges the buoy. That's going to be a penalty for McCluckich as Baldwin makes his way around and holds onto his position. And we go back to Mike Klippenstein, still running in fourth position. And we go back to our leader. This is Craig Warner on his Kawasaki out front, making his way across the start-finish line. As we wind down, the checkered flag is out. A red checkered finish once again. And the win is going to go to number 101, Craig Warner.
So here's your confirmation of the results from race 2 and a change in fortunes for Craig Warner, a DNF in race 1, but first place in race 2. Second behind him then was Brian Baldwin, number 502, and in third place, Chris McCluckich.
Craig, some really great racing out there. Can you tell us a little bit about how it felt out there on the water today?
Yeah, it was pretty fun. Got a good start and kind of just figured out my lines through this kind of scary section for most people, and I figured if I could stay on the high side in the smoothest spot, I would keep moving forward. So my plan worked, and I plan on doing it again on the next one.
So let's get confirmation of that result. In first place, number 101, it was Craig Warner. In second place then, Chris McCluckich, number 46, just sneaking ahead of Brian Baldwin, number 502. Taking advantage there, Mac did, of that red and checkered flag after that marker buoy decided to go head south down towards the pier. That's the result as it stands at this point in time, though. When we come back after the break, 2 more pro sprint races to bring you and the final pro enduro of the weekend. See you in 2. Welcome back to the beautiful Daytona Beach on the opening weekend of the AquaX Pro Tour. We've still got one more pro enduro race to bring you, but right now it's the turn of the pro sprint boys who are going to be going head-to-head twice today. Yesterday it was number 300, Jimmy Wilson, who took the top spot. But can he do it again in this next one? Well, let's find out as we go join your race commentator, Martin Sanborn.
As we get ready for our pro sprint, we have a Le Mans start in these races, and number 300, Wilson, is off to an early start. James Wilson jumps out to an early lead as they make their way around this very tight technical course. A number of switchbacks on the north end of the race course as James Wilson out front right now. You see them switching their leg positions as they go around the turn. Wilson been racing since the age of 4. Won his first championship when he was in high school as we go on board Dustin Mazurius. He is here from South Africa, currently running in 3rd place. Behind the number 72 of Johnny Smith, you can see how wet they get going around the turns as he has to dive in low to get around the turns. Back to our leader, Wilson. Out front as he makes his way past the start-finish line. That's the time the best place to go around the course, given the waves. What a difference between number 72 and Mazurius, as Mazurius absolutely just squares the turn off, and Wilson had to go wide. As we go back on board Mazurius, you can see him trying to reel in Wilson. There's Wilson making his way around the start-finish line. Oh, he goes swimming. Wilson goes in. Mazurius now moves into 2nd position. As Dustin now has his sights set on Wilson, trying to reel him in. Squares it off on the south end of the race course, now heading towards the technical switchbacks. Wilson's got a pretty good lead right now as he makes that left-hand turn, come up to his right-hand switchback. Wilson out front, Mazurius in 2nd position. Wilson from Ohio, Mazurius from South Africa. The difference in how his head stays still. Well, that ski is absolutely moving all over the place. See how sharp these turns are in the switchbacks. As they are now past the start-finish line, up to the north end of the race course, almost heading head-on into the big swells coming in. And there you see our gap between 1st and 2nd as James Wilson continues to lead. In the pro sprint category, modified stand-up skis. You see the absolute athleticism of these racers as they work their way in this bumpy water on this technical race course. Wilson continues to lead. Mazurius in 2nd place. Mazurius tries to make a move. He's trying to pick up some ground, find the shortest way around that race course. He's trying to run down Wilson, but we are on the white flag lap. The checkered flag will be out as Wilson comes around the start-finish line. And here comes Wilson. The checkered flag is out. Wilson is going to take the win, with Mazurius coming in 2nd.
So here's your confirmation of race 2, and it's a carbon copy of the first one. Jimmy Wilson in 1st, behind him Dustin Mazurius in 2nd, and in 3rd place once again, Dave Davidson.
Let's take a look at our leaderboard. In 3rd place, we've got Dave Davidson. In 2nd, Dustin Mazurius. And leading the weekend, we have Jimmy Wilson. Now we still have one more race to go. Let's see if he can hang on to the victory.
So those 2 victories there for Jimmy Wilson means that he's now looking to make it a hat-trick on the weekend in the pro sprint. Right now, though, it's the turn of the pro enduros, so let's go and see what the word is on the sand as those guys get set and ready to go. Chris, final one of the weekend for you. You're looking to tie it up with this one.
I think we have 30 points, or 35 points, excuse me, and 2nd place has 30, and 3rd is 29, so we just need a strong finish. I'd like to come out with the win in this final moto, but, you know, we need to play it smart, not crash, and, you know, take victory.
Looks like you're going to be chasing for a podium spot.
Yeah, I hope so.
We just spoke to Chris McLuggage and he said you're one of the guys that's going to be chasing him down hard.
Yeah, I think I'll do that.
I have to be in front of him though.
Craig, final one of the weekend. You going to go out there and get the top spot?
Yeah, I hope so. We did on the last race, so it's a good start. It's a little rougher now, so it's better for me, and hopefully it goes good.
This is going to be our final pro enduro race of the day. Let's head over to our commentator, Martin Sanborn. Let's go racing.
Thanks, Deanna, and the skis are getting ready to go. Final moto of the weekend here in Daytona Beach. And they are lined up, and we have a green flag. We are underway. 30 minutes plus one lap for this final moto to see who's going to take the top spot here in Daytona. Out to an early lead is Aswar on the number 119. Aero Aswar out front as they all head towards the north end of the course. He's going to have the clean water and the pick of a line as he goes around. But coming up behind him are Warner and Baldwin. Warner has the inside lane, but Baldwin drives around on the outside, but he's on a sweeping big turn on the north end of that race course. He's carrying momentum, but Warner's now got the inside lane. Baldwin's going to be in good position for the right-hand dogleg, but it looks like Warner has him by a couple of boat lengths as Aswar comes by the start-finish line in the lead.
That is Aero out front.
The shore break happening right at the start-finish line. Warner is driven by Baldwin. He's now in second place. And there goes McCluckage. He now gets by Baldwin, putting Baldwin down into fourth. McCluckage is in second as they make their way around the north end of the course. Baldwin on the inside as he now has to deal with sloppy water. McCluckage now running in third place, has his sights set on second place Warner as they make their way on the back straightaway. Aswar, Warner, McCluckage, and Baldwin round out our top four. Slight dogleg on the back straight as they make their way towards the north end of the race course. You can see that margin that Aswar has. As we go to Eric Lagopoulos, a number 371 Sea-Doo of Von Vape. Aswar now getting challenged by Warner as they split lap traffic. Warner's on the inside as he comes side by side with Aero Aswar. Gaining a slight lead as they come up to the north end turn, but Warner's going to be on the inside. But Warner's got lap traffic to deal with as Aswar now has a cleaner line on the outside. Aswar holds his position. Warner has to deal with traffic, and Aswar manages to get by him again and maintain that lead. As our leaders come towards the start-finish line, it's Aswar by less than a boat length over Warner. Warner now pulls up side by side as they come to the right-hand dogleg. They've got a little bit of a turn. Aswar's going to have the edge. Warner drops back. Aswar manages to open up a margin as he comes by the start-finish line and maintains his lead.
Warner goes to the inside.
So go back to Eric Lagopoulos. Definitely struggling this weekend. Not where he wants to be. Eric, one of the top riders in the world. As we go to Aero Aswar, he continues to lead. But he's got a battle on his hands as Warner is pushing him around the race course. Warner now 5 skis behind as they come to the right-hand dogleg heading towards the start-finish line.
Right now, your leader.
As Aswar absolutely eats up the rough water, opens up his gap every time he approaches that start-finish line. Aswar out front, Warner in second place. You can see just how smoothly Aswar manages the ski. It's all about control as Aswar comes around the course, continuing to lead. He's now opened up a bigger margin on Warner. And the checkered flag is out. For Aero Aswar, he takes the win here in the final moto in Daytona Beach.
And it is 46. That is going to take the second place position. Followed by Craig Warner.
So confirmation, the final one of the weekend, and it was a strong victory for Aero Aswar, taking the full 20 points in first place. Just behind him, Chris McCluckage, and then in third place, Craig Warner.
It's my first AquaX race here. I had a fantastic time. There was so much to come together in a week and a half, and those guys hustled, and the only thing I could do for them is come out and win, and I did.
So at the end of a testing weekend, the final standings look like this. In third place, number 502, Brian Baldwin. Second place goes to 119 of Ero Aswar, but taking the top step of the podium, and no stranger to it as well, number 46, Chris McLuggage. So this is it, it's the final one of the weekend for the Pro Sprint Boys, and our eyes and your eyes should be firmly fixed on the top three guys that we expect to be pushing hard at the front. Dave Davidson, Dustin Motzouris and Jimmy Wilson, with Wilson looking to make it 3 from 3 on the weekend and a clean sweep. Let's go join your race commentator, Martin Sanborn.
Thanks, Kevin. As the teams get ready to go on their Le Mans start, we are underway. And on the inside, it's Wilson once again jumping to an early lead, but coming around hard on the outside. Number 72, Johnny Smith. He jumps out to a big margin, got a great jump from the outside and came across the fleet. He is now your race leader. There you see him working through traffic. Wilson got a good jump. He had the inside lane. But it was Johnny Smith who got the whole shot and drove past the fleet. He is now in the lead. As he works his way through the switchbacks, looks over his shoulder to see where the competition is. As Isaiah Washington gets off the ski, he's back up underway. That costs him a couple of positions. As we go back to our leader, number 72, Johnny Smith. He is out front with Dustin Motzouris behind him in second position. As we take a look at Wilson, managing his ski through the shore side of the race course. On board Dustin Motzouris, currently running in second position. As Johnny Smith continues, oh, he submarines the ski. That's going to cost him a position as now Motzouris comes by and takes the lead. Smith sticks the nose and buries the ski, loses the lead to Motzouris and moves himself into second place. Dustin now out front, continuing to open up a margin. So now your new leader is Motzouris with Wilson in second place. As they make their way around the north end of the race course, Motz has some clean water, but he's got lap traffic ahead of him. As Dustin has moved himself into the lead. Making his way through the switchbacks on the north end of the race course. Once he got out front, he never had to look back. He has clean water ahead. Let's take a look at Motzouris working his way through the surf on his Yamaha. Perfect control, but fatigue is starting to set in as this technical course takes its toll on the racers. As we approach the end, Motzouris out front here from South Africa and leading this final moto in Daytona. As the water bumps up in the afternoon, the surf gets a little bit bigger. Moving himself into third position is number 21, Dave Davidson, here from Canada, as he crosses the start-finish line. But here comes our leader, Dustin Motzouris, working his way through the switchbacks. He's on the final lap. Checkered flag is out, and the win goes to Dustin Motzouris from South Africa in the final moto here in Daytona.
The final one of the weekend, it's this time Dustin Motzouris who was first past the checkered flag, taking the full 20 points. Just behind him, though, Jimmy Wilson, and in third place, Dave Davidson.
I don't know, it's really frustrating. We have a big problem with this, and I thought I had it fixed, but obviously not. I'm just glad they found it. I mean, obviously that's a pretty expensive endeavor if I lose the hood again, but just riding smart, you know, going 1-1 in the first two motos really helped. You don't have to win. Dustin, you know, he's playing the game. You know, he was seeing that I was almost a break, so he didn't lap me, so I had to go an extra lap, and luckily it paid off. First race of the year, and ride smart, not the fastest necessarily, but it was a good win.
So at the end of a fantastic weekend's racing, the podium rounded out like this. In third, it was Dave Davidson. Second place went to Dustin Motzouris, but how about Jimmy Wilson taking the top step of the podium on the opening one of the series? So that's it, the end of a fantastic weekend's racing here in Daytona, and huge congratulations to Jimmy Wilson and Chris McLuggage winning both of their classes.
That's right, and that's it for today for all the racing. We'll see you at the next Pro Tour event in Sarasota.
See ya.